Welcome to Disruption Blueprint with Shannon Spotswood from RFG Advisory. In this podcast, we help advisors grow their net worth, build their businesses, and maximize their independence. We've built an award-winning platform with innovative technology, comprehensive service, and a team of individuals who are experts in their field to serve advisors. Join us for this journey where we explore everything that has to do with running an independent advisor practice as we bring together successful advisors, industry experts, and innovative minds who are on the bleeding edge to challenge the status quo, foster new ideas, and create a path for advisors to unleash their growth potential. Now, on to the show.
Welcome to Disruption Blueprint. I'm joined on today's episode by Ed Swenson, RFG's president. Welcome, Ed.
Hey, Shannon. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Always. All right. So the podcast here is Quit Drifting. Make 2025 the last year you give away your enterprise value. I can't think of anything more important for us to talk about as we're in the waning days of 2025.
Yeah, I think this is our last podcast of the year. And so great time for resolutions, goal setting, and I think a good topic for us.
All right. So I love this notion that you and I were kicking back and forth about advisors donating their enterprise value without even realizing it. So to you, in the real world, what does it look like when an advisor is just drifting away? They're donating their enterprise value. They're not cued in to this incredibly appreciating asset that is sitting at their fingertips. They're just floating down the river.
Yeah, I think you just said the last part is what I'd start with, which is there's this amazing opportunity right now to create businesses. And the business is giving advice, and the advice business is in a bull market right now. And so if you think of every financial advisor in this country, and there are about 350,000 in different verticals and different channels, their core competency is the ability to connect to clients, give great advice. And that in itself is a business. And this country was founded on small businesses and entrepreneurs. And so that's the opportunity in the market. And one last thing, this is not the market of 15 years ago, where you had to kind of do it yourself. Rugged individualists had to figure it all out. We're now in a market where you do as an advisor what you do best, which is give advice, connect with clients. And then there are others that can support you in this journey. So stop giving away economics to someone who might not be adding a lot of value to the most important part of your business and what you can build on your own.
What is so interesting is that even in light of, I think, greater awareness by advisors of the various models that will support their business and support their move to independence, there still is this pervasive fear. One of my favorite quotes, everything you want is on the other side of fear. So as advisors are thinking about 2026, walk us through the hidden P&L implications for an advisor of staying in the wrong model. They're leaking enterprise value through their payout grids, through their lack of equity, through their, inability to execute real M&A or succession strategies. And the most obvious of all, they're leaking just straight up economics by waiting.
Yeah, and I think there are different channels to discuss this through. Let's just start with any kind of employee channel or any channel where maybe you're 1099, but you're part of a much bigger organization. You are effectively paying for elements of that large organization, which just by it being big is not going to be the most efficient way to operate. And so one would question these days with where technology is, why you need so much infrastructure to support your practice as either as a 1099 advisor, or if you're W-2, right? You just don't need the amount of infrastructure that you might have needed 15 or 20 years ago. The systems now are all cloud-based. You can operate much more nimbly in platforms. And so by the fact that you have to support all that infrastructure, I think every advisor should ask themselves, am I getting value out of that partner or not? And it's hard in big organizations to really get the value. You're probably paying for other people's resources that are not directly impacting your ability to grow, your ability to run your business. The second piece, which you talked about, is enterprise value. In most of these models, the enterprise value is accruing to someone else. And again, if you can be an independent advisor and create a company, an enterprise, a small business that's in the advice business, it's worth a lot in today's market. And so just in dollars and cents, and these numbers are out there, there are willing buyers for these businesses that will pay a multiple of either revenue or cash flow. And if that partner you're with right now is not helping you accelerate that number, you're leaving a lot of value on the table. And so I think the second thing is just, the enterprise value creation or lack of it. The third thing and the last thing, which I know is close and near and dear to your heart, is opportunity cost of, are you growing right now? Because
Right.
let's just say you're not at the very end of your career, but you've got 5 or 10 or 20 years left in your career. If you're growing even at 3% or 5% less than what you could be doing, well, as that compounds over 5, 10, 15 years, it's an enormous amount of value. I mean, an advisor that has, say, 500 million in assets versus an advisor that has a billion two in assets, totally different valuation, totally different exit. And so the third, I would argue, issue there is, are you growing? Are you in a place where you can grow and exceed, your own expectations? And if the answer is no, you're losing a ton of value by staying where you are.
To tack back to the first thing that you said, and I was reflecting on this the other day. I was having a conversation with one of our advisor partners, and they were so intentional in the way that they were designing their client experience and what they wanted to invest in that experience in 2026, and how it was setting them apart and helping them to win business, and they were seeing some pretty significant growth. And it got me reflecting on the dichotomy that advisors live in. They obsess over being competitive and delivering this excellence, showing up in just a profound way across multiple dimensions for their clients. But then they're willing to accept this completely subpar service experience for their own business. And it's just this complete misalignment. The way that they are treated, they would never treat their clients. And I feel like there's a simplicity of that matrix of, am I getting from my service partner, my platform that I'm associated with, am I getting the support and investment into my business to be exceptional in the same way that I hold myself to this exceptional standard for my clients?
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes back to, if I'm an advisor listening to this podcast, I might say, yes, but I don't want to make that move. And I think one of the things we're trying to say in this podcast is that mindset. I mean, you got to do it. At some point, the opportunity costs are high, and the value that you can create on the other side is great. And clients follow advisors. And so there's some kind of myths out there that some of the bigger firms put out there, because it creates a little bit of a inertia, right? People don't want to move, but one of them is that your clients won't follow you, and that's just simply not true. The numbers do not support that assertion. Most clients, almost all clients, care about their advisor, whose name on the door. Sometimes they don't even know whose name is on the door. I mean, the brand name. What they really care about is the advisor. And so 90 to 100% of the assets usually come across. The other thing is, you pick up new clients, because now you tell a value proposition, which is, how am I going to support you better in this new world? And a lot of clients love to hear that, especially when it comes to new capabilities and new things that they can do for their end client.
You had a fantastic quote the other day, so I'm going to quote you directly. You said, "We're in a bull market for advice, but a bear market for indecision." What does that mean?
I just think that there should be a lot more movement than there is. And I think, at least in our process, and a lot of the process is just education, it's not an easy decision. So I don't think either of us are saying that.
No.
But there's a process of learning. How would I do this? I know that I want to go this. There's another great book called The Obstacle is the Way, right? I know I want to do it. I don't know how to do it. That's okay. Our sales cycle is what it is, because we're everyone's learning in the process, and that's the right thing to do. But it is very possible now, in a way that it wasn't 15, 20 years ago, to make this move and to have that better outcome. And so I think that we're in a bull market for advice, meaning the valuations people are paying for advice businesses is very high. The capabilities of technology and capital in the market are where they've never been. and I've been in the industry about 25 years. And so we're in a bull market there, but we still have a lot of advisors who I feel there's indecision, right? And there's kind of a bear market in taking that step and trying to figure out how to plot their new course.
I will beat this drum all day long because I think it's so important for advisors to recognize the the opportunity that is in front of them for the next 5 to 10 years. So when we look just straight at the numbers, the demand for advice over the next 10 years is going to increase by 30%,
Yeah.
while the number of advisors in our profession is going to decrease by 0.2%. You layer on top of that you have this generational wealth transfer is starting to unfold. The first stop on that, train leaving the station is into the hands of women. The majority of women, the numbers are somewhere around 67 to 70% of women in the event of death and divorce leave their advisor because they have been so left out of the conversation. You layer on top of that, the next gen is raising their hand and telling us through the data that they are willing to pay for advice, that they are willing to outsource the investment decisions and financial decisions, but they have a changing expectation of what they're looking for in their advisor. They want a financial life advisor. They want someone who has a core competency across advanced planning, estate planning, tax planning, as well as helping them make these value-based decisions at all these critical pivot points along the way. So help me make smart decisions before I'm rich, and then also help me be really savvy, whether I'm inheriting money and I'm starting a business and I'm creating wealth for my family. So you have this moment in time in our industry that we've never seen before,
Yeah.
that all of these factors are converging, and you have these well-trod pathways for being able to step on and be independent, own that enterprise value, own that client data, own that brand, control that client experience so that it's values-based against this backdrop of surging demand. I mean, show me another industry where those factors are in play.
Yeah, and I'd throw a third one out since we're in the holiday season, which is having fun again in the business, right? Like we are in a honorable profession servicing clients who are, you know, building their lives and have, kids going off to school or will want to retire one day. This is an honorable profession. And so we've gotten in some of the bigger firms again, we've overcomplicated kind of over engineered this what it being an advisor is. And I think that number one, number two, as you said it really well, clients are expecting more. And I see that a lot around communication, how they want to be communicated to. And one of the reasons we've invested a lot in our marketing capability is I think being nimble in marketing, in communicating with end clients, advisors having that at their fingertip, and then being able to articulate their value proposition in a competitive market. These are like really core, really important for this generation and the next generation. And that's where clients are demanding more is your firm supporting you from a marketing perspective to really reach out to those clients, to be creative, to do creative events. What's your segmentation strategy? This all leads to growth and retention and a great client experience. And I think that those that are not getting that right now need to look around because the tools are there and it's possible to do it in a compliant way. And I think that's another kind of opportunity cost of staying still and not making a move.
There's a really sobering statistic that Fidelity published in their most recent benchmarking study that only 18% of advisors are self-identifying as thriving.
Hmm.
The rest are just surviving. And the factors that they cite as to why are they in this posture of like, I'm not having fun. I don't love my business. Is number one, my time is misaligned. I'm spending 60% of my time on non-revenue generating activities. Number two is around talent. I don't have the right people in the right seats. I'm too bogged down in all of the client responsibilities, the follow-up responsibilities, the list goes on and on. And then number three is I'm frustrated about technology. I'm drowning in Michael Kitsis's tech map. I see all these, solutions out there, but none of it is actually working for me. So as a result, here we are again against this backdrop of a bull market for advice, a noble profession and advisors aren't thriving. So let's talk a little bit about independence with a platform and not being alone. This is obviously, we're talking our own book. This is RFG's North Star is we have firmly planted our flag in independence and helping advisors build their own business. But I'm shocked, I like walk the talk like 24/7. I like dream, sleep, eat it. But the number of advisors that I talk to where they still believe that independence means building everything yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So what is the difference? You've seen so many sides of this business. What is the difference between going it alone or building it yourself and plugging into a platform like RFG? And how does that change the enterprise value equation?
Yeah, I mean, I think first, like everything in life, get a partner, get a subject matter expertise. Could I build my own house? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I could. Could I cut my own hair? Could I do my own? There are a lot of things, right, where you want a partner, you want to hire someone else. And so I think things like compliance and financial services, technology and financial services, these are things that I would suggest you get a partner, not because one can't do it, but because it's going to save you a lot of time and effort, and then you'll get the scale benefits of a platform like RFG as you execute. Because as an advisor, and you talk about this a lot, your best and highest use is talking to your clients or prospecting for new clients, not filling out, reams of compliance issues or marketing compliance issues or technology, open API, integrations or cybersecurity things. So get a partner. And that's where I think, again, we're talking a little bit of our own book here, but you can have a partner, which is RFG. We operate a corporate RIA. So an advisor comes onto our corporate RIA, which means we are responsible for compliance and we are responsible for pen testing and vendor due diligence on technology, all the things you might not really want. But you are an independent, meaning you have your own firm, you have your own LLC. You are creating value in your own LLC while operating off of our corporate RIA. And so we're very closely aligned with the advisors on our platform where they're creating enterprise value, but they're leveraging our scale and our expertise to execute on a day-to-day business. And that I think is a really nice partnership and alignment where we want the advisors to be growing quickly and we want them to be happy customers and clients, but we do not own them. And in that model, it really allows, I believe, a really nice alignment again and a good partnership. There are a lot of other models out there, and a lot of them these days, which we can talk about, have to do with how do I buy your practice? And in that model, the focus is less on platform capability and services being offered and more on a financial transaction. And I would just argue, and we can go down this whole, this rabbit hole, which is an interesting one, is when that's the number one thing, a financial transaction, execution, service, platform, capabilities is not the number one thing. And so in our model, obviously, we have to execute, we have to deliver because we don't have any hooks into someone. They don't have to stay. And I think that's a powerful, positive benefit of our setup of our model.
I think I think it's one of the most important things for advisors to have just complete clarity as they're evaluating different options. Because the enterprise value, to your point, resides in, do I own my data? Do I own my brand? Do I own my client relationship? Do I own my LLC? The enterprise value is accruing there.
Right.
And I think this is interesting, both in terms of an advisor who's burnt out, which we are talking to so many, burnt out running their own subscale RIA.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Talk about chief cook and bottle washer. And the heat in the kitchen is so hot on cyber, on compliance, on just being inundated from all sides. So the value of the business is not in the ADV. And the value, as you were sharing earlier, if you don't control those things, that enterprise value is accruing to whoever does.
Correct.
It's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, and there are 14,000, RIAs in this country. And so there are a lot that are what you said subscale, trying to do it all, trying to balance all the requirements of running a business and taking care of their clients. And what's nice in this model is it allows us to do a lot of that middle and back office so that the advisors are freed up to do front office work with clients and prospects. So that's kind of the difference in our model versus some of the others. And We're coming off of a record year. Thankfully, very appreciative of that. But we're seeing that model is resonating in the marketplace.
I think it's one of, for both of us, we've been in the industry a long time. We're students of the markets and the rest of it. One of the most interesting just underlying drum beats right now is that capital is readily available.
Yeah.
So this notion of like, how do I maximize my value really needs to be top of mind. And you have optionality. And, one of the things that we're really excited about is providing that optionality to our advisor partners. So if they make the decision, I'm ready to sell 100% of my firm, how do we help structure those deals? I'm ready to recruit advisors into my business. I want to be the acquirer. I want help structuring a succession plan and sunsetting another advisor. Like, what is so cool about the independent model and the fluidity of capital now that has flooded the zone in our profession is that you're able to accomplish all of those things at the right time if you have the right partner.
100%. And it's something that we've leaned in a lot on, and that is how to help advisors and RIAs on our platform do acquisitions and how to structure those if needed, provide capital, either debt or equity. All of that can be done, but we have a whole team that's helpful in how to structure that. So you're not alone. What are the market comps? What are you willing to pay? How do you negotiate that? All of that is part of the offering at RFG now, which makes us, I think, even a better destination for those advisors that want to go out and purchase or partner with other RIAs in the market.
All right, last question. Since we're going to put a little challenge out there, since we titled this podcast as we were, brainstorming it, "Quit Drifting, Make 2025 the last year you give away your enterprise value." So the challenge is, if this is the last year that you're going to give away your enterprise value, what is the one structural thing or most important thing that an advisor should think about in Q1 if they want to accept our challenge? Make 2025 the last year you give away your enterprise value. What is the one piece of advice that you have to them if they're at the beginning of this journey or the midpoint of this journey of like, you know what, you're right. Enough is enough. The technology is there, the support is there, the sophisticated client management resources, whether they be banking resources or investment resources, check, check, check. I mean, check the box across every single, objection that you can have. You can find it in the land of independence. So what is the one piece of advice that you'd give someone that it is willing to accept the challenge that 2025 is the last year I am not accruing value on my family's balance sheet?
Okay, I'll ask you the question. I'll try to answer it. This is not prepared. First is if you haven't done the work yet, you've just been thinking about it, reach out and have the conversations with those that can help educate on the process. You have probably a list of questions on why not to do it. And I would start with those, start with that, but just start having the conversation, start spending a little bit of your time each week, getting better educated and reaching out to us or to others to learn about it. That's part of the process. And we fully expect that we're going to go through that process with someone. So there's no need to have kind of fully baked something to get going. Like the first step is just to take that first step. I'd say if you've been thinking about it for a long time, and so say you've been thinking about it for a year or more or two, I would come up with what are the objections, like really write them down and try to get answers to them. This is now a well-worn path, in our industry. This is not, again, like it was 20 years ago. This is a unbelievably viable, real opportunity for financial advisors to do better for their clients, do better for themselves, to add enterprise value. What are your objections? And let's talk about them. But yeah, the water is warm. Actually, this year, we will start to see a crossover of assets and advisors in the independent and hybrid RIA space that's at parity with the wirehouse space. So that would be the biggest bank brokerage models in our industry. You have just as many assets, right? Definitely growing faster in our market than in the wirehouse market. So why is that? That's a trend that's been in place now for about 15 years. reach out. Let's have those conversations. Don't wait, That would be my advice.
Okay, so my advice is, why are you not thriving? Why are you not thriving? It's unacceptable. I mean, truly, like you recognize and acknowledge all of the factors at play that support this industry. And we can't look, I mean, with the way that change is accelerating, we can't be assured that 10 years from now we're having this same conversation, but we can be assured that these factors are in motion right now and that the backdrop is favorable for advisors who are catalyzed to action. So my, challenge is, why are you not thriving? And then that's your first step of, what would that look like if you did? What if you only worked? The other, I think, big misnomer is independence means more work. Couldn't be farther from the truth. We've helped plenty of advisors design their life and build thriving big businesses where they take the entire summer off and the entire month of December off, and they're not dying in the months in between. So thriving is certainly possible, but you have to be intentional about what that looks like. So that would be my challenge.
And I think you said it really well. Like, we're at a point in time right now where there's never been a better time to do this. There are resources and people available to help on this. Technology is evolving right now. Some of this new technology is just fantastic. And it does exactly what you just said. You can either service your existing client base better, or you can service more clients than you've ever been able to, because it's been automated and the tech is driving processes for you. So it's a great time to have these conversations.
I love it. Always good to be with you on Disruption Blueprint, Ed. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Happy holidays.
Thank you for listening to the Disruption Blueprint podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.rfgadvisory.com or schedule a call on our advisor resources page. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. Information here may be provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither our guest nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of our guest. They do not necessarily represent those of RFG Advisory, its employees, or its clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by RFG Advisory or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives of Private Client Services, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory, a registered investment advisor. Private Client Services and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place. RFG Advisory is an SEC-registered investment advisor. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of RFG by the Commission, nor does it indicate that RFG or any associated investment advisory representative has attained a particular level of skill or ability.